Time now for the markets with Leighton, and you say cattle prices are high for this time of year.
That's right, and there are some new projections out from the government, so it's all in the markets today. We have projections that U.S. cattle farming will enter an expansion phase over the next few years. Meanwhile, the continuing high price of cotton doesn't seem to deter sales to China, and analysts say a good U.S. corn crop is needed more than ever this year. We begin with the new Cattle and Feed report released Friday, February 18th. Earlier in the week, the government projected that export demand for U.S. beef would help fuel an expansion of the sector over the next few years. In the meantime, prices have been somewhat atypical for the third week of February. Extension economist John Michael Riley shared his thoughts about what is going on in the cattle market. John Michael, so far since January, beef prices as a whole have been pretty strong.
We've started the year fairly strong. We've tapered off just the past couple of days due to the Dow Jones dropping a little bit and a lot of uncertainty in terms of what demand is going to be as we see these prices work their way to the meat case. So I think that's got a lot of people kind of antsy about where the direction of these prices should be, because they are at relatively really high levels compared to where we typically are at this time of year.
All right, and this week we have seen the price of corn and soybeans come off a little bit, which is of course a primary feed for beef, and that's going to benefit what? The feedlots if feed is costing a little bit less?
That's right. Sell off across most commodities this past couple of days, and that should lead to a better break-even cost of gain. You did some calculations on those this recently, and right now they're sitting around $1 break-even cost of gain, which is really a very good cushion compared to historical levels. But with corn so high, it's you're sitting there right there at that limit in terms of whether or not you can return a profit on cattle in the feedlot. But these lower feed prices should help out.
All right. Now you have some export numbers you were telling me that are positive more or less?
Right. December export numbers for beef came in 33% above year ago 2009 levels, which we've seen that across so many commodities. Everything, global demand has surged in 2010. We saw that continue in December with beef exports being up quite strong, and that definitely helps, because domestically there are some question marks, but it is good to continue to see some global demand out there.
Now, back at home, there have been reports that restaurants may be seeing a little more business or things getting a little bit stronger on the economy front. That would help beef as well.
We're not out of the woodwork yet. We are continue to see improvements. Unemployment still is one of these things that lingers. It's a lagging number, so there is hope that this is going to continue to improve. But for the most part, we are seeing some slow, gradual improvement in the economy, which should relate to higher restaurant sales.
Now, Friday, a new Cattle and Feed report came out. We're recording this before those numbers, but what are you expecting to see?
Well, we've seen such a surge in placements for the past couple of months. I'd be hesitant to think that that's going to continue into February or for the January numbers. I would expect that to be at least even or maybe a little lower, especially given the winter storms that we've seen. Now, those took place toward the end of the month. How much that impacted January placements, I don't know, but I think it should be. We should see those placements starting to taper off a little bit.
Although fish farming has declined some in Mississippi in recent years, aquaculture is a growing entity as far as the world is concerned. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization says that nearly half of the world's food fish are now grown on farms. That's a 3% increase from 2006. The FAO reports that China produces 62% of the world's farmed fish. World per capita fish consumption has now reportedly reached 37 pounds. Our trivia quiz begins the transition to row crops in the markets. Our question for the week is about cotton. Where was the first mechanical cotton picker in the state of Mississippi located? Attala County, Tishomingo County, Sunflower County, or Coahoma County? You'll find out here coming up in a couple of minutes. DTN reports cotton futures soared to the 700-point limit as of Thursday morning. This followed a USDA report that weekly U.S. export sales were within the range of expectations. December futures were running a little over 133 cents as of our production time on Thursday. Analysts at Doan's report the supply situation is very tight and that even an increase in cotton plantings will not provide relief for quite some time. Well, the grain markets, including corn, were giving indications Thursday morning that the recent round of long liquidation was nearing an end, according to DTN. Concerns about tight corn supplies are very much in the market, according to analysts. Dow Jones Newswires reported this week that corn stocks are expected to come in at a 15-year low by the end of the crop's marketing year, August 31st. Analyst Sue Martin tells Market to Market we have to have a good corn crop this year.
It's not going to take much to hurt us this year. And the good thing is we come into spring in very good shape for the producer, for the farmer. He's got his lot of work done, inputs put on. But the difference from this year to last year was, last year the ground wasn't froze under all that snow, so it melted in nicely, and then it turned dry, and boy, farmers got the crop in early. This year we're frozen. It may be that we see some flooding in some areas with the runoff of snow, but in the meantime, we probably may be a little bit delayed getting in. It's a late April Easter this year, the 24th of April. An old saying, late Easter, late spring, who knows?
That is a good question. We do, however, know the trivia answer, and we'll share that with you now. D is the right choice this week. Coahoma County in the Delta was the location where the first mechanical cotton picker in Mississippi was located.